Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the teams. But first, I'll introduce my co-host, as always, the amazing, the ever-essent, your favourite, my favourite, Mr. Leck Doggers. How are you?
Pommy, I'm pumped. If I sound a bit different, my microphone literally exploded as we were going on air, so I'm using the headset. Folks, I'm excited to be here. Big game of football this weekend. Big week for us.
Well, I can officially reveal that the teams haven't been out yet, but I update my spreadsheet and they've silently removed TDK and brought Young in and brought Motlop onto the extended. So it's not finalised as of yet on the Champs Data and the AFL website. But I do think that that's very interesting that that's been a silent change. Do you know what I mean?
Oh, mate. Well, we love a little bit of secrecy. If he's been a sneaky laid out, they're going to announce Mitch McGovern contract extension. Like that's how they do this.
Well, I just thought that was funny for the chat to know because I went on about 3 o'clock this afternoon. So that thing you've got at the bottom, I have it on a spreadsheet, and I went with Terry's. I obviously updated it when Terry did, and we were talking about TDK. I just solely noticed something. It took me about 10 minutes because I'm like, how the fuck have I got that wrong? Right? And I was like, which player here did I put in? And I was like, TDK, he was there. So I went back and watched the stream. So I think that's a very interesting one. So we do know that definitely TDK and Pitternet will not get up for this because Carlton have silently, and I can actually confirm for a man that is a bit of a nerd who does a lot of team checking, that's very rare that is updated after the original extended teams with still the extended teams. But as you can see at the bottom, just confirms, you know, I'm not going mental. The AFL website, Carlton's website, has silently removed TDK and replaced them with Young on the field.
Very interesting. I feel like maybe a year ago, maybe a couple of years ago, Pitto might have disappeared in one as well when he did that injury that was supposed to be 1 week and he was out for about 17 months. But yes, I'm seeing it. I'm seeing it in front of my very eyes, Pom.
Can I just say, yeah. So it's interesting as well for that to actually occur as well, just by the AFL rules. A little bit of an interesting Pom fact, right? They get 2 cut-offs after the extended bench. So that will be confirmed out, which is interesting because Voss did an interview at 2:25 to explain that he left the ground early and that was pre-planned. It was just part of the fitness test and they were hopeful he would play. So now he's actually officially out of the team. He can't be named unless there is an error with the AFL and Champs Data website, which is highly unlikely. But he now can't be named even if he does pass the fitness test.
Very interesting stuff. It means we're in for a one way or another. We're in for a bit of a tough one in the rucks because Lewis Young's going to be taking the bulk of those. JSOS will be assisting probably when Luke Jackson goes in. It's a pretty daunting prospect, isn't it, Pom?
It is indeed. So, I mean, obviously it was an MCL joint, so they're finicky anyway. It was always tough for him to be ready this week. But I do think that's entertaining. But I can also reveal this show's completely pointless because Carlton have named it since round 1 in order of who it is. So the bench will be Chin Cotter, Kennedy, Cottrell, and JSOS. So, you know what I mean? There we are. Yeah. Game over. Thanks.
I think you were the only... So, did you just... I think you were the only one who had Cowan in the mix, weren't you, on Wednesday's stream?
Mate, I'm just a big Cowan fan. Thank you very much to Robbie as well for the $14.99 donation. Super sticker. G'day, mate. How are you doing, my friend? Cheers, Robbie, mate. We've got a Richmond fan in chat. Hey, County, your second team. Let's go, the Blues. Hey, tell you what, mate. Make them your first team. Make them first team. Do it now. Commit.
You, we're way more fun than Richmond. Who wants to go for a team with Jack Riewoldt in it despite him wearing sleeves? Who wants that?
I've got to say, Leck Dog with a new mic sounds very storybook. For anyone who listens to audiobooks, Like, I could just fall asleep listening to Let Dog. Wayne asks, did you put Ed and Cowan's name together as a salute to the swashbuckling batsman for... I did. I did actually, Wayne, no joke, right? I did see it and I did have a little chuckle to myself. I was like, oh, that's good. See if I was trying to make some more cricketing analogies out of the team, but unfortunately we don't have a Bevan. So Nick Austin, I know you watch this show. Do it. So
Sort it out.
Teams should be any second now. And it's in. Shit the bed. Carlton have sprung a selection surprise. Ed Kerner, as proof, as I've been telling you all for 10 years now, there is no contract in the world that exists that says Ed Kerner has to play. It is impossible. Contact the AFLPA. But the teams are Brodie Kemp, Jacob Wheater, Nick Newman, Jordan Boyd, Mitch McGovern, Adam Sard, midfield, Blakers, Paddy Cripps, Sam Walsh, Lockie Fogarty, Kerner, and Owis are your half forwards. Cunners, Mackay, Jamar, full forward line, Lewis Young starting ruck, Adam Cherrett and Doc, with backed up by the boys, Alex, Ricotta Chincotta, Matty Kennedy, Matt Cottrell, whose favourite song is 22, and JSOS, with George Hewitt locked in to be the sub.
Mate, do you really think George Hewitt, they're not going to give it an honorary sub to Ed Kerner?
No, it's come on.
Look, I had George Hewitt, I think, I can't remember, but we had him in our team or around the sub. But I mean, Ed Curdo admitted for his brother's hundreds. I reckon we might see an Ed Curno sub. I reckon it's still a possibility. It won't be Motlop, won't be Cowan. So it's Hewitt or Curnow, isn't it?
Look, we have to get out of this sentimental nonsense, right? Do you know what I mean? Like
I'm with you.
If you want fucking romance, go and read an Emily Bronte novel, right? Do you know what I mean? I've got a load of them. Wuthering Heights is my favourite. Like, read that. Like, this is teams. But I agree, Matty Anderson, my main man, a running side. They've kept the same balance. They haven't ruined something that was broken. I heard a lot of rumours on my way here today about Carlton. We're going to bring George Hewitt in because of a potential ruck out and go midfield heavy. I did love, and I don't know if anyone's seen it, and I know that, Let Dog, you've been very busy today, but Voss did allude to something that did turn me on. And he said George Hewitt came in, did a job, but it's about getting the balance of the midfield in. Right, getting the balance in. And he said he's a real important player, but he feels like him playing disjoints the balance of the 22, which I think is really interesting because maybe Voss has realised having 10 inside mids and no outside runners may not be conducive to winning football games. Let Dog, your thoughts, and chat, your thoughts.
Yeah, look, I think we've talked about the balance of the team a lot this year. I still think there's a place for George Hewitt in this football side. Not this week, clearly. What I do like coming out of this is last week they spoke about Ed Kerno coming in to fill Cottrell's role as that sort of... Cottrell had been on the wing, he'd been forward, he'd been suspended. They did that whole spiel when they brought Ed in last week. And then in the spiel this week on the website, they talk about how Cottrell's going to come back in and play that wing and forward role, which at least gives me some faith that they've been consistent with their team selection in terms of how they want to build their team over the last few weeks, that they are actually replacing that role. Now, you could argue that Ed wasn't the correct choice for that last week, given he's not really a winger, but at least they're sticking to that. So whilst I'd love George Hewitt to find a way into this side, I don't know who it's at the expense of at this stage, and agree, it shouldn't be at the expense of our wing rotations until we have, as we discussed on Wednesday, legitimate wingers on our list. But I think this is a really nicely balanced team. I love when I see Walsh's name on the wing. He can be damaging anywhere. Cunningham, Martin. It's a very sexy team with the exception of not having a ruckman in it.
Mate, I agree with you. And you know what I would say is Matty makes a good point here. TDK will be right next week. Chat and Let Dog, your thoughts. Now, I followed Sean Darcy for a lot of his career when he was in the juniors. I really like Sean Darcy. because he's got a little bit of Australia's favourite word that you use as an adjective that I can't say on YouTube because we'll be demonetized, but it rhymes with hunt. He's got a little bit of a hunt in him, right? And in juniors, he was notorious about really hitting ruckman hard. He was physical, right, when he was in juniors. He's brought it into the seniors. He's attacked Carlton quite a bit. My big concern with TDK being half-cooked and pitting it with Carlton stupidly admitting it was his PCL knee, Darcy will accidentally, on purpose, clamber into that and get them out for a year. It's his job. If he played for Carlton, I'd probably get a tattoo of Sean Darcy's face on my neck. But what do you think? Do you think maybe Carlton have aired a little bit of a caution of thinking a 50% TDK into this side is an absolute nightmare? Because I guarantee first centre bounce, Sean Darcy's going to do the old accidental on purpose knee-on-knee contact and turn TDK into 1990s Christopher Reeve.
I think that really threw me. I think there's I think there's some teams where TDK plays this week. I think Fremantle, Melbourne are probably two teams he doesn't play against. I think if it's a Collingwood, he potentially does play. I think you're right. I think there's a bit of protection going on. I was thinking about that last night while I was contemplating the team we'd named and just thinking, yeah, if there's any chance of an injury, even if whether it's on purpose or not, Darcy and Jackson beating the shit out of you for 4 quarters of footy, that's going to be tough. So they throw Young in and, like, you know, they might not really mind what happens to Lewis Young or Jack Silvani and the Ruck because, you know, they're not going to win it anyway. So just go in there and compete, try and throw a few elbows if you can, lads, and we'll try and ruck to their advantage or to Fremantle's advantage.
Do you know what I mean? No, I agree with you. And good question here by Eddie. This is a real controversial one. I opened up a bit of a can of worms in my video the other week saying that are ruckman unimportant? And some people took it like I was saying you can win a flag with Lewis Young and Jesus. It wasn't my point. My point was more based around, you've seen Collingwood, right? They bring in Darcy Cameron, jettisoned by his old club. They considered him, interestingly, not a ruckman. They got rid of Brodie Grundy. I don't think anyone can argue best 2 ruckmen in the league when he left. And my point was good attendance around centre stoppages and centre clearances, I think is the key. The Ruck being a superstar helps, but I think good conducive work around the ball, like you saw in the earlier thing. And when people talk, I see Josh Aaron's mentioning all the time George Hewitt has to play and stuff like that. Totally disagree. One side's in the first half of the year worked out how to negate Carlton, which was get them on the outside and flood the corridor. We lost 1 game, won 1 game. Lost 1 game, won 1 game. Same with the start of the year. It didn't quite work. Now they're going to have an element of less defensive mids, one more conducive. Do you think in this it's really exciting? Because I want to see... I'm kind of excited that we're going to lose ruck dominance, but the mid has to work. The mid has to protect that ruckman. And I think that stands them in good stead because I agree, right, with Eddie. Hit out to advantage is overrated when our midfield does what it does, right? They win the hit out, they do fuck all. Number 1 side, when we went on that 6 losses, Carlton have been ranked number 1 at first hands to the ball, which I think really is a telling thing that hit outs to advantage don't work if you haven't got good movement in the centre.
Yeah, I think there's a few factors for sure. Not all of them are on-field factors, right? So I do think you need a good ruckman, but it helps that we've got an experienced midfield as well. So last week we saw it where we got thrashed in the hitouts, but we just sharked every single hitout. And that's a midfield experience thing, right? That's our midfield was far more experienced than midfield. They could outposition, they could outwork them. So it worked to their advantage. It may do the same this week against Fremantle, but I don't think it's going to work against, Melbourne aren't in great form, but a Melbourne or a really experienced, let's call it Collingwood midfield. The other factors to the Ruck conversation, I agree with you, Pom. I think it's exciting, and I think we'll find out where the midfield's really at, if the last 2 weeks have been an aberration or not, if they're to see how they go. They have to shark all the hitouts. They have to be really conscious of their opponents and getting to the right places when it's not necessarily coming to them. I think that's one of the benefits of also bringing a guy up on the back of stoppages, which we've seen a little bit over the last couple of weeks, is they're going to try and hit long over the top of us if we are ascending. So having that extra security there is going to be important. One quick note is you want a good ruckman. You don't want to be paying a good ruckman $1 million a year, which was in vogue for a brief period there, which is part of the reason Brodie Grundy went out. If he was on 500 grand, I dare say he'd still be playing in Collingwood's midfield and doing very, very well.
Mate, no, I agree with you. And I think we're going to have to be looking at this game. And I think, who was it? Matty Anderson made another good point. Matty Eddie just flying at the moment. But I agree, right? Sarong, Brayshaw, they're very good at doing the right thing. They're very good at getting in there and getting the ball out. And the midfield here, our biggest improvement the last 2 weeks has definitely been the tackle pressure and then winning the ball back and doing something with the ball, not handballing it in. This is going to be a real big effort this week, isn't it?
It's going to be a massive effort. We've got probably a more experienced midfield, but as you pointed out, they've got guys that just do the right stuff. For us, we know the keys to winning for us. It's doing the right thing through the middle of the ground, taking the game on through the corridor and lowering the eyes and hitting targets. It's pretty basic footy that we need to get right to do well. I think the key matchups, though, are going to be in the defensive half of the ground, Pom, with Kemp, Wiedering, Newman, Boyd, Sard, Gov, whoever, Cowan if he's the sub, Chincotta. It's going to be really important because they've got a sneaky, as we talked about on Wednesday, they've got a sneaky sort of small forward line. It's not massively tall, but they can be dangerous. So their team, they named in the forward line. I'll actually quickly run through their team, Pom. In comes Neil Erasmus into the side. Carl Warner is the sub. Nat Fyfe comes out. So nothing crazy there. They line up Cox, Pearce, Young, Walker, Ryan, Aish. It's an interesting back line. They like to play fairly loose and they like to play a running sort of defensive game. Liam Henry still playing on the wing. He's dangerous. Caleb Sarong, Jordan Clark in the forward line. Frederick, Jackson, Schultz, Tracy, Amos, and Walters on the ball. Darcy, Brayshaw, Jaeger, Swikowski, Erasmus, Johnson, and Hughes on the bench. But the forward line, Pom, you wouldn't say they're massively dangerous, but they seem to have a good record against us, and they can be sneaky. Like Walters will kick a few. Jai Amos is in great form. Frederick can impact on the scoreboard. It's going to be a really, I think that's where it's going to be important for us.
It's going to be an interesting one. Nick Newman up against Walters. He does like toweling up a dangerous small. Toby Green was actually mentioned on a GWS podcast I was listening to, saying that they hate playing Newman, which I thought was interesting because you don't often hear opposition players. You got a bit of love here from Wael. Legog, what's up? Pommy, fuck yeah. That's spoken by a man that gets up at 3 a.m. to watch WWE. That is. But, do you know what I mean? There it is. What else have we got? Freo is 1-3 in the past month with bad losses. It's going to be an interesting one, isn't it? It's going to be a really interesting one. Now, chat and Mr. Lekdog, what are your thoughts going into this one? Where are your expectations? Twofold question from you, chat and Lekdog. One, if they win this, do you think that the F word will start becoming in the vocabulary, right? Because potentially they are a game out. And number two, what are you expecting in this game? Are you looking for us to go like we did last week, take the game on? Or are you expecting a more 50-50 type game where the boys are going to have to go back to grinding and scratching a win?
I think Freo would love us to go back to grinding and scratching. So, but from that point of view, I think we shouldn't do that. I think we need to continue to take the game on. We have to be playing fast and smart, right, to win the center clearance battle and to win the stoppage battle. We just have to be smarter, and then we have to use it quickly, and that should be an advantage for us in that we don't have a ruckman. We should have an extra little bit of pace in that group. So I would keep taking the game on. I think we can win. We've won 5 of the last 6 against them. We seem to match up all right. We don't hate I think we're 4-4 or 8-8 or something like that. We've won like 50% of our games over at Optus. On paper, I think we should win, and I think we should carry through the form we've had. I love the Cottrell injection into the game. I think it's going to be telling pretty early how we're going to go. I think we need to be really aggressive in how we play this week. And again, we need to make them doubt themselves, which we've done relatively early for the last 2 weeks. Started the second quarter against Gold Coast and basically started the game last week. We have to show up and show that we're the better, more mature side, and that we're not going to take shit.
Mate, I agree with you. Josh Aaron, Nick Dacus, we haven't got time for players developing. If anyone has ever in the world compared Nick Dacus in terms of development, gee, they need to stop talking about football. Whoever's told you that, Josh, Nick Dacus was destined to be a superstar. He's probably top 2 of juniors ever to come through. Like, you could have developed him at my nan's allotment and he would be a superstar. Josh, what happened to Lockie O'Brien? Well, Lockie O'Brien's just been found out. Jack Carroll injured. Ollie Hollins has been injured for a while. Jesse Motlop, he's gone downhill. Sam Durden and Corey both injured. Injury-prone players, my guy. I'm confident we can beat Freo. Mr. Bugsbell. No, I agree. Home game. Wael, he's calmed down a little bit. With no Ruck, it's going to be hard to win this game. Mate, it's going to be super hard. Now, chat, I've got a question for you. What is the one non-negotiable you're looking for this game? Like Wael and a few of you have said, no Ruckman, the boys are going to have to work overtime. What is the one thing you're looking for come the first quarter?
For me, again, I'm going to talk about the back line. If Walters looks like he's getting off the mark early, and the matchup, which I think is potentially going to be Newman, I probably should be Newman. If it isn't working, let's change it. Let's put Adam Sard on him. So I would like to. I guess that stems to a couple of players. Walters is the obvious example. Let's be ready to adjust mid-game, which we've done well the last couple of weeks when we've had to. Like let's. It might not go our way early, given the Ruck situation. So let's adapt, and let's adapt quickly. But yeah, the key matchup for me I'm going to be watching early is Walters on Newman/Sard.
Mate, some great comments as well. Tackles, pressure and desperation. Says Matty Anderson, Peter, take the game on. This is a good one from Paul Hill. They are very similar to us this year, that when pressure has been applied and they haven't got the, I hate to use the N-word, nourishment. They haven't got the nourishment on the scoreboard. As the GWS game showed, they had the better of the exchanges early. They implode like us. So that's a real big thing for me. Just trying to ask the question for a change instead of trying to find the answer. Pressure, space in the forward line, that would be good. Consistency, I agree with this one. Looking for the players to be the alert. I think the start of the game, that I want to see, even the Hawks game, there was a bit of iffy moments. The Gold Coast, they had moments where they looked like they were getting a little bit frustrated. It wasn't quite clicking, and then it did. Really think that that's the big thing for me. Tackles. And Wael asked a question as well. Where's the young Rucks? It's an interesting, this one. We seem to talk about Rucks a lot on the team show. It might be because me and Letdog did pre-season content saying we needed a Ruck, but
not just this year either, for the last 3 years.
While unfortunately Murkoff has got a leaky valve in the heart and had an operation with that, which makes him, I think, due to the AFL rules, he's still training, but he's not legally allowed to play. I think it's a 6-month cardio test because of the heart conditions we've seen in the world of sport. And Hudson O'Keefe, it's the first time he's had double figures of hit-outs this week. So, unfortunately, yeah, Lewis Young and JSOS are probably the best rucks we've got at the club.
I'd say that in an ideal world where, you had a free agency pool you could access throughout the whole season, this is where you pick up the 35-year-old retired Shane Mumford type ruckman for one of these games. But we've been through 3 preseason drafts, 3 mid-season drafts, and we still haven't done that. So I'm not confident we would, even if we had the option.
It's interesting, chat, and an unpredicted question, because you're all having some good ideas. Letdog as well. If the mid-season trade period was here now, all right, with the picks we've got, right? So 60, 69. I think we've got 60, 60, and 69. I think it's 7, 60, and 69. 69. What would you go on? What would you be looking for now? If the mid-season draft existed now and trade, what would you be looking for?
I mean, if he wasn't injured, I'd be going to North Melbourne over saying, hey, that Todd Goldstein bloke, do you want Paddy Dow for him? And I'd be executing that trade and bringing Goldstein in just to be that break glass in case of emergency option, which we now clearly need. I don't think we lack for too much that you could solve mid-season outside of that one specialised role, to be honest.
Yeah, I suppose you'd have to be looking at like probably ruckmen that are like top tier VFL, but not in the seniors, because obviously no one's going to trade you Sean Darcy. He's going to be like, I'd imagine, and I've been looking at some theories in the AFL media, and you can tell they've never had round ball knowledge because genuinely your price mid-year is higher than it is at the end of the year in soccer because it's harder to replace. So I was thinking like players maybe like Flynn, if Bruce was fit.
Yeah,
players
Flynn's
like
a great
that.
one.
I think this is a great one. Sam Hayes.
If he was healthy.
Yeah, do you know what I mean? Sam Hayes, genius. Like, them type of deals. Final question I've got that is unmitigated as well. And I think this is a big one. How many wins do you think we need from here to play finals?
Do I need to get the Terry ladder predictor out, do I? I don't even know how many wins. How many wins are we on? We're on 6 wins, 8 losses, and a draw. We're on 26 points, tied with Sydney. They've played 1 extra game than us. A win this week could potentially put us at 9th or 10th. I don't know. We probably need to double our wins, don't we? We've on 6. We probably need to end up. Maybe we need to add, I don't know, 5 more wins.
Yeah, I think we're lucky as well because this ladder this year has been stupid. Teams are just beating each other for no reason. So I think 12.5 around that mark gives you a chance. There's
5,
a chance.
You're probably 5. You're relying on everyone else. 6.
You're
good
probably
chance.
Still relying on everyone else.
7. You have to. 7. I mean, we basically have to win every game. Like that's the long and the short of it. We need to be aiming to win every game.
We've probably got 2 chances, like Josh Aaron says correctly. We've probably got 2 fuck-ups left for us. So it's going to be exciting. So, chat, going into this game, the big question. I want your prediction, right? Your score prediction first. Second, I want who wins the most hit-outs, Lewis Young or Jesus? Number 3, who is the most experienced player historically in the ruck in our list, right? Right? Who's not a ruckman, right? That is your next one, right? And number 4, best on ground.
Okay, so the hit-out question, I think Lewis Young has more hit-outs. I think Jack Silvani has more hit-outs to advantage. But in terms of total hit-outs, I think Lewis Young will. And I think that's just by way of, I think he'll be in there much more than Jesus. What was the second question? Who's our most experienced ruckman on our current list?
Yeah. Yeah,
are you asking me players that are in the team or on the list?
So what I mean is who have trained in that position before they became an AFL footballer.
Oh, gee whiz. That's a hard question. I'm trying to think of someone who's like half tall. I don't know. Is it Caleb Marchbank? Lockie Plowman? I don't know.
I'm going to read out his draft profile, right? And this comes from Cal Toomey. Makes an interesting proposition for list management, as there is potential scope for him to move back and be a premier ball-winning midfielder, which is in vogue in the AFL at the moment. However, the late season form has seen him being deployed as a ruck forward And maybe with the advent of more athletic rucks, this could be the scope for him moving forward. However, his best position is a forward.
A few people suggesting, I think Lemmy's too recent. Charlie, Harry.
Hey, it is.
Is it your boy?
Tell you what, Charlie Kerner could be the max fucking gone and we don't know about it.
You keep him the fuck away from Luke Shrek Jackson. And you keep him the fuck away from Luke and Shrek, I should say.
No, it's an interesting little factoid. He played a lot of ruck forward towards the back end of his draft before he got injured. And yeah, that was where. Do you remember the Cooter similarities? I only know that because I reopened my 2015 draft book and was doing the video for Charlie's 100th. So, Leckdog, score predictions. We've got some good ones. Blues by 23, JSOS and Blues by 8. I like that.
Best on ground, I say this every week and I'll say it until it happens, Sam Walsh. And score predictions, I can't think of the trend of recent games with Freo. I feel like we generally score okay against them. I'm going to say that we don't hit 100 points. I think we kick 84 points, as in that's our total score. And I think we win by 2 goals. I think it's going to be relatively close. I think it's a 2-goal win, 72 to 84. I think that's what I just said. Mate,
I love it. I'll read some out. It was Nick Bryan. Weil is who Carlton are linking with, the Essendon reserve ruckman. Ironically, Andrew Phillips is there. He would be nice.
Yes.
I agree. We've got to keep Charlie away. It was just a joke. I'm not suggesting it. Josh saying 90. I don't think they'd let that knee yet. Can you imagine? I would be shitting myself all game. But well done, those who said Charlie. There was quite a few of you. Paul Hill, Jonah, you guys are ahead. So I am going to predict Carlton kick after the siren. Blake Acres, he's going to aim for the Freo cheer squad behind him. And he's going to swerve it in like he does with that banana. It's going to do a full 90. Gets a behind Carlton win by a point. JSOS will win the hit-outs for Carlton. Best on ground will be Cunningham.
Oh, I like that. Got a special shout-out from you in the cheat sheet this week on jockreynolds.com.au. Our last 5 results against Freo, I pulled it up, 81 to 50 win, 97 to 62 loss, 80 to 64 win, 109 to 64 win, 40 to 36 win, which was the Jack Nunes game. And you'll recall, I'm pretty sure that it wasn't just Jack Nunes who had an opportunity to win. I think Liam Jones went forward and had an opportunity to kick for goal late in that game and absolutely shanked it from about relatively tight angle, but barely in front. So definitely some highlights there for us.
Mate, it's going to be a tight game, and I just think, obviously, Luke Jackson's not been rucking as much. I believe he's carrying, I think someone said it was a calf.
Carrying something,
a calf. I think someone said he's done something to his calf, which I don't know why you can't ruck when you're 9 meters tall. Like, you don't have to jump, but it's going to be an interesting one. Well, chat, lots to look forward to. I've got my preview going up either tonight or tomorrow morning. Now I know the teams. Leckdog will be doing what this weekend? Leckdog, talk to me. What does a Leckdog weekend look like? A Leck end, I'll call it.
Well, it's an away game, so my dad will probably come over and we'll watch the game on one screen, have you on another screen. But mostly, like, the average footy experience is Dad and I drive to the game in silence. We sit down in our seats. We get annoyed at people coming in late and annoyed at people talking. We sit there in silence, occasionally yell at the umpire. Siren goes, we stand up, we handshake, and we go home. So it's a pretty standard affair, but no, it'll just be a quiet one this weekend. Having said that, I'll probably message you at 2 a.m. tonight. So we'll see what happens. Follow me on Twitter at Leckdog.
Yeah, follow Mr. Leckdog. He throws me in his articles occasionally. Deeply humbled to finally be in a ratified Supercoach publication. Obviously, I will be doing the watch along Sunday. Tomorrow we've got Blue Abroad Saturdays, which is back. So come and say hello there. We just talk shit and stuff.
It's just a morning shit talk, isn't it?
Hey, look at that. Look at that. I've got a members live stream on Pominos if you're a member of that. If you're not, what are you doing with your lives? So we'll probably watch a bit of the Ashes, do a draw. If not, we'll see you Monday for the review show. Look after yourself. Go Blues. Peace, love and harmony. Pom and Let Dog are signing off.